structure of our national government. Today we're focusing on the legislative and the judicial branches of government. So, today, again, going on the issue of emphasizing the role of separating our government, our founding fathers developed a system that separates the powers of each branch of government. Again, the three branches of government are legislative, executive, judicial. They are separated because the founding fathers wanted to prevent any one branch from becoming too powerful. Although the majority of those who were strict adherents to the Constitution believed that the branch they had to fear the most was the executive branch, for the first many years of our government's history, the legislative branch dominated the three branches of government. Today, the executive branch has almost acquired more power and almost in many ways is more powerful than the legislative branch. All powers delegated to any of the branches are limited by the Constitution. The Constitution outlines the powers of each branch of government, and each branch of government are only supposed to follow those listed powers. Today, again, we're focusing on the legislative and judicial branches. The legislative branch is a bicameral body, meaning it is two chambers made up of the upper house and the lower house. The upper house is called the United States Senate. The lower house is called the U.S. House of Representatives. In the United States Senate, we have currently, and always have had, 2 senators per state, equal representation. This was proposed way back in the Constitutional Convention by the New Jersey Plan that wanted equal representation for each state. So even the small states with small populations could have a say in our government. If there are currently 2 senators per state, that means there are 50 states. 50 times 2 is 100 U.S. senators. Senate term is 6 years, and every 2 years, 1/3 of the Senate, approximately 33 senators, are up for re-election. Each state, again, has exactly 2 senators, so a state like Wyoming, with a very small population, has the same amount of U.S. senators as a state like Texas, which is the second largest state in our country. Currently, the 2 senators from the state of Virginia are Democrat Mark Warner and Democrat Tim Kaine. The U.S. House of Representatives is based off of what we call the Virginia Plan, the idea that representation in our government should be based off of a state's population. There are 435 members of the House. Every state receives at least 1 representative. Representation is based off population. Every member of the House serves a 2-year term. California has the most representatives because it is the most populous state. So, what does the legislative branch do for our country? The first thing it does is it is the law-making branch. No other branch makes laws. They can influence laws, but the branch that physically makes laws is the legislative branch. The next thing it does, it approves an annual budget. This is where we got our whole government shutdown problem because although the president prepares the budget, the legislative branch has to approve the budget. Therefore, the government shutdown was all over a disagreement between one party who controls the White House and another party that controls the House of Representatives. The legislative branch confirms presidential appointments. That doesn't mean like an appointment for a doctor's routine checkup. It means the people the president selects to be a part of the federal government. They must be approved by the legislative branch, more specifically the United States Senate. The legislative branch is the only branch that has the power to raise money through taxes and other forms of collection known as levies. It is the legislative branch that can implement any type of tax changes, not the executive or the judicial. The legislative branch also regulates interstate and foreign trade. Interstate meaning trade between 2 states, foreign meaning trade between, for say, the United States and China. Again, that is a role of the legislative branch. Legislative branch is also the only branch that can declare war. In order for a president to go to war, they must seek approval from Congress. The judicial branch now is made up of the United States Supreme Court, which is the highest court in the federal system of courts, and all other federal courts. Currently, right now, the Supreme Court has 9 justices. They're not called judges, they're called justices. A Chief Justice is the head of the Supreme Court. Currently, our Chief Justice is John Roberts, appointed by George W. Bush. They are nominated again by the President, and they must be approved and confirmed by the Senate. They serve life terms. That means the only way they can be removed is by choice, impeachment, or many have died on the bench. What does the judicial branch do? They have the power of what we call judicial review, meaning they have the right to determine whether or not a law passed is constitutional or not. Again, the power to determine if state or federal laws are constitutional or unconstitutional. The Supreme Court is our highest court in our nation. Federal courts deal with federal laws and deal with questions over how we interpret the Constitution. Remember, there are those who interpret the Constitution strictly, meaning word for word, verbatim of what it says, or there are ones that read it more loosely, who believe it is more of a living document subject to change. Okay, I hope you enjoyed our brief coverage of the powers of the national government, more specifically the role of the legislative and judicial branch.